Hey, welcome to Let It Be. I'm Vanessa, and this is my little corner of music YouTube. Today, I'm going to do another installment of an ongoing series I have called Should It Stay or Should It Go, where I take a look at albums in my collection and reassess whether or not there are ones that I need to keep or if they can go to a new home where someone will appreciate them more than I maybe do. So albums eligible for this tend to run a bit of a range of different types. So some things are albums that I bought, listened to, and then just decided, oh, maybe I don't like this as much as I want to, but still held on to because, we're as a collector, sometimes you collect to have volume, and I'm sort of reassessing that. Um, or in the case of today, it's an album that I bought on a whim I'd never heard, but I still had not got to listen to. So this is my first go around with it to see if it's something that I need to keep or something that I could get rid of. So the album today is a solo album from 1975 by Phil Manzanera called Diamond Head, which I bought a little while back from a record seller that I bought from a lot in the last couple of years. They're an online store, and they're located in Canada and on the West Coast. And I've bought a lot of records from them, and their quality has been great. But at one point last year, they were going out of business or just pausing their business, I suppose. And they were clearing out some stuff. And in the last couple days, they cleared out a lot of their inventory for really cheap prices, like $1, $2, $5. So I just grabbed a whole bunch to justify the shipping cost, of course. You know how it goes. And this was one of them. So for this record, it features all the members of Roxy Music aside from Brian Ferry, which is pretty cool. And it's a really interesting album. It's one where you almost have to go song by song just to start talking about it because it has a certain kind of flow. So I will start with the first song, Frontera. There's a lot of guest vocalists on this album. Robert Wyatt sings on this song, and he sings in Spanish. It's a really cool blend with his voice and the instrumentation, and a really great way to open the record. This is the only song I had heard before hearing the entire album, so it was the only one I was familiar with. So then it flows into an instrumental, which is a theme throughout the album. There's a mixture of songs with vocals and instrumentals throughout, sort of weaving together. So the next song is the title track, Diamond Head. I really love the guitar tone on this song, and it's really enjoyable as a song. And that is one thing that is really noticeable about these instrumentals on this album. It's not necessarily just like a guitar workout. It doesn't necessarily feel like a guitarist solo album. They feel like distinctive pieces in within the album. The next song is, I think, the best song on the album, called Big Day. It has Brian Eno on vocals. Immediately really like it. It's very summertime. It has a very summertime feel to it. It's just got a great arrangement, and it's just such a super catchy song. Like it's great. And then we transition to another instrumental, which is another kind of mood. Like it brings you into the next phase of the album, and it's called The Flex. It's kind of funky, lots of saxophone, and it's a great bridge between this song and the next one with vocals, which is Same Time Next Week with John Wetton and Doreen Chanter on vocals. At first, I struggled with this one. The first time I listened, it was my least favorite song. I like John Wetton a lot as a vocalist, so I had some expectations, and maybe this was a bit different than what I thought this song might be. But as I listened a couple more times, it grew on me, and it fits so well with everything else, especially the flex going into it, that I grew to appreciate it a lot more. And it was a good closer for the second side or the first side, pardon me. So I do think it works better within the context of the album than maybe on its own, but still cool song. So then the second side opens with Miss Shapiro, another Brian Eno vocal song. It's very cool, kind of proto-punky, very catchy. And then we get two instrumentals, but that's okay Um, Sometimes that would be maybe a bit too much if you're not a huge instrumental person, but I think that they're so distinct from each other that it works really well, and it keeps the flow going from this song into what would be the closer. So East of Echo is kind of swirly and hazy. It's got this cool chugging sound. Kind of makes me think of Talking Heads a little bit, which is a little before their time. So that's really neat. And the next song, Lagrima, is also instrumental, like I said, but it's slower paced and it's really pretty. And it is a really nice lead up to this last track, Alma, which has vocals by Bill McCormick, which, from what I can gather, he worked with Phil Manzanera on some further solo albums after this. And it has this nice epic feel, and it immediately feels like the perfect closing track to this album. Like it really wraps things up perfectly. Like I don't, if they had anything else after this, which there are bonus tracks if you go on the streaming, it just it would be wrong. This is definitely the closing track for this album that really wraps everything so nicely, and it has this sense of finality. Like it's just a really great way to end things. So I think this album has a good balance, a lot of variety. It manages to stay interesting throughout and engaging throughout its entire runtime. I find that it goes by really quickly, like it's a really easy listen. And even with the one song that wasn't necessarily my favorite at first, I still think it fits in with the album. I think it's very well sequenced. I think there's a great balance between the songs with vocals and the instrumentals, which is something that is very hard, very difficult to do. Like, but they manage it here. And it doesn't feel like I said before, like a guitarist from an established band's solo album. It feels like a separate piece and an album on in its own right. And it's really cool. And I'm so happy that I picked it up so cheap. I don't know what I don't remember exactly what I paid for, but it was maybe $2. I don't know. And it was just a nice little treasure in all that. I have a few more records from that haul that I have to get to eventually, and I don't expect them all to be this successful, but this was a nice surprise. So this is a 4-star album for me. I'm going to keep it. It's going to stay. So that is a nice change from maybe the little more, not necessarily negative, but the previous videos in this series where things all went. It's a nice change. So yeah, I like I said, this album takes you on a journey, kind of like the train on the cover would indicate. So I would check it out if you're interested, and especially if you're a fan of Roxy music. It's something really cool that I just never thought to explore. So anyway, have you heard this album? What do you think? Just let me know. Bye.